who, maybe there will be someone else who's culture shocked like I am.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, if anybody is watching this, welcome to the Holistic Systems July 4th Tuesday community meeting. And it's Rob, who is working anyways on July 4th, and Zoe, who lives in Brazil. And nobody else is here. So fair enough. We're also sort of getting, I know, we'll let's finish this Skillshare, Zoe, but yeah, I know that when we get, we're getting into phase 1. So now it's like, okay, like who wants to be in phase 1 and who doesn't? So that's an interesting question. Okay, set up invoicing. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, no, I mean, just to say that's reasonable for you to, it's good to know that you're in shock, about
Thanks.
that. It's so normal here, right? It's just that, like, even if somebody wants to pay, not even with a credit card, but with a debit card, if they then want to pay you through it usually has to go through a separate payment processor, which still charges that fee.
I think the people should rise up and demand something that makes more sense. It's just like all these middlemen,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it really is.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. And right, and sorry, I should pause here though, 1 second.
Okay.
Because we're naming names.
Okay. Without a bank.
How to receive
money from Zelle without a bank account seems like it's possible.
I did a lot of like work trying to figure out how to stay at my bank, and I don't exactly remember, but it's I never found a way, and I dug deep. Yeah, I think it's probably not worth.
Yeah, they won't accept my savings account. Zelle wants a checking account, I think.
Yeah, they want like I didn't know they wouldn't accept. Oh yeah, I guess I get they want a checking account. They can't be a business checking account. You have to.
Really?
Yeah. So if you so you can't it can just be a checking account that you use for business, but you can't be like, oh well, this is my business account, I want to put my business name on it, because then if you do, then it won't, they won't let Zelle go through.
Wow, it's quite complicated.
Quite complicated, yeah, right. And there it is again, they're like, yeah, we'll let you make personal transactions, without a fee, but if you're making money, we gotta make money, right?
Yeah, exactly. Fascinating. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. I wonder, because you want to be setting up, I mean, see, there's new, like this was, I was talking about like with Squarespace, without, there's these, like the tools are getting more and more integrated these days.
Good.
Right? And so there's a way where, right, where you have to create an invoice. Also, I do. Do you send Eric the same kind of invoices you send me?
I've copied yeah. They're similar.
Yeah. Those I mean, you might consider, maybe this is the day, consider one day like
okay.
Yeah, the invoices. I mean, I don't care, but like, yeah, those
I have no idea what's common, so if you could give me a template, that would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely templates. So I wonder if there's, there's just like a couple of programs. Let me just do a little research. I'm going to pause again because I don't think that anybody needs to see two people like, going like that for 5 minutes more. Yeah. I mean, essentially it's like, we'd have our first Skillshare meeting official.
Yay! That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I want to connect my account to this as well. Okay, so then, then that turned into a skill share. And then what else was going on with you or work or whatever you were
Oh, besides that,
besides that? Was there
not
anything else?
much, not really. All's good.
Okay.
Besides not knowing how to be an expat working for American companies or people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's part of that's part of it, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, figuring
Cool.
that out.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about Harvest.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good program, and I've been doing free, for a long time. I mean, if you're going to use like its capabilities, like
Great.
it has like its own time tracking and stuff. If you're gonna like, if you're like in like a bigger business, and needs to like really be tracking time for more than, I think they give you like 2 clients. So
Okay.
if you really need to be tracking time and billing that time for clients and use its full capabilities, then it's like $10 a month or something. So um, but for our purposes, and certainly for the purposes of invoicing and billing, like the free plan is
Mhm.
totally fine, totally sufficient. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Free sounds really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so then basically, yeah, let's just check in on what we have for agendas. And then we can talk about that given, the members who showed up today. And so basically what I have, I wrote kind of on the meeting notes, right? So, talking about, right, the member profiles, which you already filled out, right? Talking about like, okay, what are people's specific needs and value offerings, right? Like starting with the yoga with Adrian, the
I didn't know
decentralized.
that payments were a need of mine as well until today.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, right. Why don't I put that on the list, and then if we do, we can
That's
check it
awesome.
off.
I think it's even more important than yoga.
Yeah, it might be, right? If money's number one on your needs list, then figuring out how to get somebody to give it to you
Right.
is pretty important. Um, okay.
Funny.
Decentralized group creation and facilitation, which is maybe a fancy way of just saying like how do we start with figuring out who's doing what. And then, right, I'm creating this knowledge base. I need to start with it, like knowledge base, and share profiles, and I'm trying to figure that out. So that's what I have. Anything you were coming with other than that?
That sounds really good.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Um, okay, so yeah, I mean, like the member profiles, I mean, I think we've talked about that. You filled it out, which I thought was great. I'm trying to figure out a way to, I guess this is jumping into the knowledge base thing, but I think what we need is a central place to, like, where everybody can see each other's profiles, like the members can see each other's profiles, and I don't think that that's something that wants to be like out in the general public. There could be something where we're saying, hey, the general public, like, on the website, right? Like these are the members or something like that, or just, in another list. But this is like, hey, these are my needs, and I need help with, health and healing and wellness, like that. People,
Right.
I would assume, I wouldn't want that, like, out on the open.
Right. Just for the community
Yeah.
or some, sub community or the community. Yeah, I guess it's fine.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out a way, so people can, a way so people can display them that, so everybody can see, everybody else's needs, and then also,
I see.
and then, and edit their own, but maybe not be able to edit others. And then along with that, right, part of what I think that can go on the same place is this knowledge base. So, right, which is something that I already have, in a lot of ways, right, that which is, like a knowledge base of like, hey, here's like SOPs you can do if you want to set up, right, like this could be something that added to a knowledge base, honestly, is like how to set up, a simple invoicing and client payment system.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, right, if we're going through something, so that's kind of the idea of like that knowledge base is like as people go, right, and I'm doing research on, I don't remember it all now, right, but I'm doing research on Zelle, whatever, and I have, it's like I can like then when I say, okay, now I've figured this out, I can, put that in the knowledge base, and then that's, and the reason I like the knowledge base is because it, in this particular area, as opposed to just like asking GPT or looking on the internet, like I think that the people who put in the entries, can be like connected to it. So then, you could like ask them, right? So it's like if I'm trying to make like a big decision on some platform or something, then and you put that in, or you put in like some like your own perspective on it. I could then be like, hey, can you talk to me for a half hour? And
yeah,
actually,
that's super cool.
Yeah. So I think that's something that I think is a big kind of like thing to get done pretty quickly. Not so much even the knowledge base, but like where people's profiles are, because that's like that's kind of the start of what's going to get people started, I think.
Interesting.
And so, yeah.
How many people do you envision, like in the next few months and then the next few years, using this?
Right. Well, that's a question. That's a big, yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, I think. Is how many people, because essentially what that question is like, is this thing like, do people want it, or do people, are going to want to try it, find value from it, pay for it?
Like if it's just a few people, I feel like an Excel sheet could suffice, just a handful of folks. But if it's bigger, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I talked about this with the person who I'm working with, and right, I mean, he has a particular opinion, which is like, right, because there's a couple of tools that we could use. We could use like Notion, and there's another one called Slab.
Slab. So many apps. It's great.
There's so many. He said there were like in the tech landscape, he said there were like 10, like what was it, 10,000 now, different apps, that are like in use,
Oh no.
viable. His point was that for now, since we really don't know, like if this is gonna turn into something larger, he's like, you should just use Google and like the Google workspace. And I've never used Google Sites. Have you ever used Google Sites?
No, let's check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's check it out. Yeah. Let's check it here. Well, if you're checking it out, you can share your screen with me, so that way I can. Okay. Yeah. So he's saying that, that like you can actually set up a knowledge base and set up something like this using Google. And his point is that every new tool you implement is another tool that everybody has to then like figure out how to learn. Sites. This is interesting. I mean, I've never used it. Portfolio. What happens if you click on portfolio? Because that might be something where, so, you know, his point is like, first of all, you're gonna, you know, spend time like creating this beautiful thing. Is this like a website?
Is that what this is supposed to be? Google Sites?
Yeah. It
So
could be.
will they give us embed? They'll give us a link, so it'll be a site. So okay, let's see. Okay. Tell me, like, what's your purpose? Who are you, Google Sites?
Is it like a website?
Is it a website? Huh.
I mean, but the way that he was talking about it was like that Google, you know, he said you can create like, you know, this like easy, you know, on using Google Sites, and then Google Sites, like you can, you know, you can have like the map of the contents of all the, you know, everything on the knowledge base, you know, there, but it's all then connected to the Google Docs, you know. So even though it's not like as like pretty and nice, you know, maybe, you know, he's saying like you can do that, you can set up that knowledge base, you know, with Google, then it's not gonna, you know, you're not gonna have to like get charged per user.
Good.
And it's something where you could like, you know, like it integrates with all the Google stuff. Everybody's already on there. Yeah, I mean, this could be like your profile.
I'm going to name of project. I want to publish it to see what it looks like once it's published.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Oh, it's okay.
Web address.
Yeah, this is great. Who told you this? Pablo?
Yeah, Pablo. Pablo, he's helping me a lot. He's really helping me a ton. Web address. Wait, make it easier for people to visit your site with a custom domain. Like, huh? Who can view my site? Anyone?
Should I just write Zoe test?
Yeah, Zoe test is a good one.
How is that not already taken by something? Use lower only lower no dashes what? Use only. Oh, it's the end. I see. Okay, it's just the end. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It's already taken.
Zoe test. Zoe test 1.
Got it. Okay, that's cool. So they give us a sites.google web address, and then we could send it to people and they could click around.
Yeah, or we can, right, or you can buy your own domain.
Okay.
Natalie is here.
That's awesome. Yay.
Yay. That's really interesting. And
That's
so then,
super cool.
yeah, so now I want to go. Now I want to, hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
Now I want to go
Hello.
there. The sites.google.com. Is that what it is? / Zoe test. Is it Zoe test 2?
It's 1, but I'm trying to find the link. Oh, here's the link.
Because that page is missing.
We're figuring something out, Natalie.
Sites.google. Oh, view.
Cool. I can see
Oh, yeah.
that. No worries. I'm running around, so I'll just listen for a moment and I can check in later.
No, well, there's actual really, there's good stuff. I mean, we're sort of, oh, here, I got it. It's on the web.
This is so cool. You can make a website in a minute.
I can see it. It says, hi, I'm Zoe. And then it has the picture of you. It doesn't look a lot like you, but it has to be your picture, right?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Natalie, we can check, we can catch you up if you want.
Yeah, it's kind of
or
hi.
Are you
Yeah.
out and about?
I am. I'm currently with my partner and we are shopping for cat food.
That's awesome.
Hi, partner.
How cool.
Yeah, we've got some cat sitters coming in like 5 days or so. So we've got a little prepping to do. I'm going to be going to the West Coast and my partner is going to interior BC. So
Oh,
we yeah, went with trusted house sitter and have some strangers coming to cat sit for us. So that's
wow.
a new thing.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, you guys sounded like you were on a roll with something.
Yeah, we're on a roll with stuff. What what's works best for you as far as like the meeting? Because there's definitely plenty of like input that I think would be great. Do you want us to kind of like go through stuff and then you can input, or is there a way where it would be better served, if you just kind of listened in and then input later?
Definitely. Yeah, we're on the tail end of our visit. We just had uh some longer conversations that I didn't get out or as home as sooner as I'd hoped. So yeah, I can listen for a bit and then feedback later.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. We'll continue on then.
Cool.
Yeah, so what we were, right, the reason we're here is because we're essentially talking about there's like this profile, right? And there's this new profile form, and so like a profile that everybody would have, that has like, these are like the needs that I have. These are right. Well, you filled that out, Natalie, or you put something on the meeting notes, right? But the needs that I have, and these are the things that I can offer, and that I'm looking for and can offer in the community. So we got to this Google Sites thing, which neither Zoe or I had ever used at all before, as a possible way to share the profiles with the members of the community and also have this knowledge base. Yeah, because at least for now, my thought was to kind of set them up in the same tool. I don't know, but like to do it in a way that's going to be simple and easy, right? And without, that part of my job, is go along is to like not try and build out everything that kind of comes along like in this really cool, awesome way that I want to do, right? So it's like, oh yeah, we've got these profiles and we got this knowledge base, right? And so I want to like do deep research and build it in like this amazing way, right? But it's like, yeah, I have to like restrain myself, I think, when things are getting going initially, so it's like, okay, let's just do it in this minimum viable way. And then if we, 2 months from now, it's like if there's whatever 50 people or something, it's like, oh, okay, now let's is this working, or do we need to build out something, more complex? So, using Google where everybody's already at and kind of knows how to use, is it's kind of a suggested way to do that. So that is really, that's really connecting into like the bigger picture. And I think what feels more important, to talk about today, which is like, and Natalie, this is, to like I think the big things today is really about like, how is phase one starting, right? And do we, because it seems like there's a pretty clear, idea of what that is and could look like and start. And so how, do we actually get it going, So what are the people's, current needs here? And then how can other people, meet those needs with their value offerings? And then, really like who's doing what, so how are we starting this kind of like decentralized group creation and facilitation? Yeah, and so so I think that's those are really like the big questions, and maybe we can just hear input from folks, because I I have thoughts, but really like I think that the first thing to do is that anybody who's interested, actually like fill out this profile form, and really just like lay out clearly, okay, this is like what I'm needing help with now, and then this is the value that I can bring, and then just start to figure out ways to find matches, and then how does that work in a in kind of a larger scaffolding of how holistic systems might work. So that's number one. And then today, and I think we have a couple of like real life use cases that would be great to talk about today, that Zoe is bringing. Number one is yoga with Adrian Buddy. So and then really, so that's kind of like the first thing. And then the second thing is kind of, well, what is the plan going forward as far as again, like, and it's said simply, like, who's doing what, meaning like how to what is Rob still doing in facilitating, and then what like, and do we want to do it in this way where like there, we have certain circles, and then each person decides to be responsible for a circle or for a part of a circle, and then we can also talk about like, hey, do we want to start like paying in? Do we want to start like everybody paying $10 a month, which is I think a fairly low and reasonable amount, but just to like actually start to establish that and figure out how to do that sharing. Those are my questions. So yeah, I'd love to hear like thoughts on that from everybody.
So I'm thinking Natalie might want to chime in later once she gets home, right? Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Sounds like a good idea. Well, yeah, I mean, you and I can comment on it now. But yeah, if you want to start, Zoe.
Cool. So you mentioned like the whole agenda for today. So where should I start? So we were at member profiles, right? And we found that we could make a website for free that's accessible and maybe editable as well to anyone. Editable, that's too risky though, right?
I think that's that was some of the idea, that Pablo was trying to get across, was that like, with Google, you can, right, you just give different people different permissions, depending. So it's like, okay, well, if Zoe and Rob and Natalie are going to be editing, the website, then we have edit permissions, and everybody else has view or comment permissions, that could be.
So they'll fill in the form, then we take the information on the form and put it onto that website.
Yeah, if we were going to do it that way.
Okay, so that's an option. Maybe I have a weird thing for Google Sheets or Excel, but I feel like it would be so, like, is the website really better than a Google Sheet where things are more compact? If we get a lot of names, like the website's going to be a long scroll, how to navigate so many members, and also to search, like if it's on Excel, we could just go down the skills column and be like, that's the skill I need. Which
Yeah.
is so, or Command F, you know, like we could do a Command F search, Command find on the website too, but it's just the whole thing's scrolling and it's kind of unmanageable. That's my thought. I think I still would like an Excel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. Yeah, maybe on the website would more be like for a person, like if they wanted to just browse, you know, oh, I just want to look at somebody's profile and I just want to, you know, browse through or something.
Feel
You
part
know,
of
or
the
maybe it's not even
community.
necessary now. Yeah,
See
maybe
everyone's face.
yeah, we can have, you can have pictures in Excel, you know, in Google
True.
Sheets, as you said.
That's true.
You taught me that.
We could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it could just be like easier, you know, for the actual purpose, which is, you know, to like, right, for people to look and see, you know, match people up.
Yeah, it might be okay. I know it's not pretty, but maybe it's the most effective one.
Yeah.
But think about, yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Notion too.
Yeah. You know, Notion, it could be good. It gets, you know, Notion gets can get a little like complex. And if, you know, once it gets past 10 people, then you need to pay. You know, that's not even actually the way Notion is set up. It could work well, but that's not even, I think, the issue with Notion. The issue with Notion is that it's like, you can do so much that like, it's easy for like people to break it, you know, and like accidentally like, and delete things and do, you know, I think Notion is a good option. If there's a paid plan, you can get permissions and people can edit and all this. So I do think it's a good option. You know, like a Slab, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, it would take some doing. It would take like, you know, it's more than, yeah, I don't know. There's a couple. Because I think I've been trying to think of like, I've been the knowledge base and then like showing the people's profiles this, you know, in the same thing, but maybe that's not necessary.
I don't know what it would look like on Notion because I don't have lots of experience with Notion yet.
Yeah.
Could there be like a spreadsheet sort of setup that's prettier than a spreadsheet?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I'm, you know, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of wondering whether, yeah, whether we, you know, like we could just start with Excel. Because right now, yeah, and if you start with it, the thing is, if you start with like Excel or Google, or like Google Sheets, then that's like really simple. And then you can always, when you say, okay, now let's like go to Notion, like you can always, like it's very easily take that information.
True. Yeah.
To a Notion, whereas sometimes going from like these other programs into another one is harder.
Yeah. So Excel or Google Sheets is always a good place to start.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
clean.
So what about like, what do you think, you know, Zoe, about like the, you know, like the group, like the co-creation and facilitation, and you know, I made that document, right? It's on the notes there, HSC, you know, business model phase 1 or whatever, you know, which was basically just kind of compiling everything that we talked about. But I, you know, like the question is how, you know, where do we go from here?
Is you're referring to phase 1, which is on not the meeting notes page.
It's not on the meeting notes page. The link is there. I put it
Thank
in the
you.
chat. Yeah, it's at the exactly.
Okay.
And that's just kind of compiling, what we have.
I'll just take a few seconds to skim it.
Okay, cool.
It's like last meeting stuff. Okay. Target lines, right. Ah, there it is. Okay. Great. Organizational structure. Okay.
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna highlight a couple of things that I think are
Okay.
definitely applicable to what we're talking about today.
Cool. Yeah, this is a good topic. I was wondering about it. We almost got into it on WhatsApp, but yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
I feel like if you wanted to do like HSC facilitation as your main part-time job or main job, if we get enough people, like
Yeah.
you could and should be able to do that. If we're getting paying members and you want to like sort of be the like core facilitator, manage sort of overseeing all of these circles,
Yeah.
I think you could and should do that if you want to. But if you don't want to, then we could just go straight for more decentralization. But I do think it risks fizzling out potentially, because when things get too decentral, like I'm all for decentralized structures, but I see hierarchy not as this person's better than this person, but everyone's got equal respect, but this person manages this. So if you wanted a more centralized structure, I think it might mean HSC is fizzle proof.
Yeah. I see. I think that's I like what you're saying. I see one challenge with it, which I'll share.
Right.
Whether like would I like to do that? I mean yeah, sure, that'd be great. That would be a great job. To be that like right to facilitate and kind of grow this and all of that. I think that the challenge is that I think it's the same challenge that we were seeing before, which is that it's like I can't make a living off of it, like while it starts, right? Like it could be my job, like sometime in the future if it's like successful.
Got it. Okay.
But it has to get from like here to there. And
yeah,
and that was kind of like the main problem we were running into, before was like, oh, I can't actually like coordinate that, in a way where I can also like support myself like now.
Right.
So that was, and actually it's been like the last week or since all that, sort of like, it's been kind of a relief. Like I actually looked at like, I'm like my to-do list, in Asana, and it's like, I mean, it's huge, right? It's been really large. And then when I took away like, making like coordinating everything to make Holistic Systems this agency, full spectrum agency services, it was like, whoa, a lot of that just like dropped away, And it was actually interesting to see that, because I didn't really realize, I think that was the issue maybe we were coming up against, I didn't realize like how much I was actually like doing.
Yeah, because finding work for yourself is hard enough, and then finding jobs that could lead to jobs for the whole community, that's a lot of work. And ideally you would be paid for that agency work as well, but it's all like dependent on that future job,
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you've like had a chance to relax more too. But yeah, so now what? Right.
Yeah. And so I think that's the same, challenge that comes in, right? Is if I'm the one who's kind of doing all the facilitation jobs or most of it, I'm still not getting paid for it. And even if there's, right, because we want to, it has to get to a place where it is like, viable. But the question is, how much are people willing to pay now, and how quickly is it growing?
Yeah, those are
so if what's that?
That's exactly the conversation we need to be having. That's perfect.
Yeah. Nice. Right, because if you like, I've run calculations, right? I mean, we're starting at like, we're saying, okay, $10 a month, which I think is, is a nice starting place for just, okay, the people who are here, and just to start to get, to have something. But like, that's probably not going to be enough. If it works, it's going to be creating more value than that. It might have to be, we're talking 15, 20, 25 a month.
Totally the conversation I was like wanting to have, kind of like the numbers even. And like, dividing the amount you would hope for so that you could really focus on HSC if you were to be the core facilitator, and like dividing that by how many memberships, meaning how many people do we need to find. But maybe it's possible at the same time, because at least with something like Patreon, I don't know if it's the same, but like crowdfunding for me in the past has hooked me to, or linked me to, so many strangers. And I love that. And that just like expands. I don't know if the algorithms are as kind as they are in the past, but if there are enough free and easy to provide resources like Yoga with Adrian, which maybe I could rally the troops every Thursday and be like, it's Yoga with Adrian time. And if it feels enough like a service, you're hopefully not losing too much energy. I'm still gaining something. And hopefully people will sign up for it and become a member. And then once we reach that level of, X many members, then you could jump in more fully. But yeah, before then you should not like put in too much if it's, but that's like what crowdfunding is all about. It's like, once I reach this much funding, then we will be able to provide XYZ. And everyone's like, ah, sweet, I want XYZ. Let's all fund this thing.
Yeah. That's cool. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then there could be stretch goals. Like, if we make even more and we get a larger community, we could provide all these things. And you have to like build the dream for people. I think it's a possibility, cool. But I don't know. Like Newman said, should we go for the weeds or for the trees? And like, what if there are 200 people in the community?
Yeah, that's not a terrible problem to have.
I guess so, right?
Yeah, it's interesting.
200 people, how would we?
Yeah, right. What happened? But right, what happens if we get to 200 people? Yeah, I mean, it is something, right? Like all of a sudden, right? You would just have to have somebody like, if there's 200 people, then it's like, okay, then now you need the equivalent of a full-time person coordinating that, or maybe more. Yeah. So you would just, if you have 200 people, then those 200 people would have to be providing enough to like meet, like that sort of one person's at least salary. But I think that's why, some of, why some of this decentralization is required, right? Because I'm just like, I'm like, I can't do it all like right now, especially like right now, and so there's some, decentralization. I mean, I really like the because it's like that crowdfunding like idea, like that's a really good idea, it feels like, for me, like, I don't know that I feel like I would, right? If I did that, I would have to like drop a bunch of other things, I'd have to drop, like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, oh, well, maybe somebody else wants to take that one, somebody who's inspired for that one. All right, take that, and then that's like you're putting that in, right? And so then, that would be, okay, then that person's in, like the funding circle. And then, right, and there's these circles, right? And I'm, I could be in the, right, if I'm setting up, kind of like meetings and the profiles and the value sharing, right, then I'm in like that resource value sharing circle, and I'm, doing that. Maybe somebody, is like sort of facilitating this like skill shares. I think there's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't actually have the the right answer as far as like, like do we try and get some funding and then get a bunch of people, and then like do we do it with the money and then we have enough people to facilitate it? Do we do it with the people who are here? There's a way where I guess part of me has been thinking like, well, how many people are here? If we count, like all the people who are, there's like maybe kind of 30 people who are like on that email list that I email, on the roster or whatever, so there's people, so I think that would be part of what I thought, or somebody's kind of next steps would be to really like kind of contact all those people individually and say, through email or whatever, rather than a mass one, and say like, hey, is this something you're interested in? And if so, fill out the profile, member profile form. Are you willing to pay $10 a month? And see how many of those people initially we get.
I think that is a smart first step. Yeah.
Because even if you get like 10 people, even if you get, I mean, right now it's like I see 3. I mean, I think Newman's in, Nyla filled the form out. I mean, I think there's, I mean, it's reasonable to think that, people who actively want to participate now, could be 7. Is that enough to, right? Is that enough of like needs and value that there can be enough matches, right? That people are like, yeah, this is good. I'm getting certainly more than, right? If you start with $10 and everybody says, yeah, I'm getting like much more value for, with my time and money, that I'm investing, then, then the time and then the $10, then there's something that works.
It's a good place to start, I think, and see how that goes. I know that like last week we were sort of trying to solve a problem of like you just putting so much in and not getting as much back in terms of, I guess, money too, because, well, you did just get that job too, so that changes things maybe. That's so good. I don't know, yeah, like how much we're able to put in, like, are you gonna be okay if we don't get a Patreon, kaboom, lots of people, lots of money soon? Like, yeah, I mean, if it's 70 a month, is that okay? Is that enough? What does that go to? Yeah.
I think for me, what I'm realizing is it doesn't, if something like if a bigger funding comes through, right, then that like changes the situation. But whether it's 5 people or 7 people or or 20 people, at $10 a month, like that's not, like even for one person, right, that it's not enough of a consideration to say, well, now I can like work on this more as like my job rather than like as a side project. So it isn't really, I don't know that it's about the money. It's about, I mean, I think at this point people are going to sort of spend, well, a lot more value of their time than they are than the money.
And
So it's, so in that case, it's almost like, what, to me, it makes more sense. Like, why would I be the recipient of all that money? It's more like, well, let's, have that contribution, spreadsheet, and, we all put in and then we all receive. Because the money at this point, is because we're still sort of testing the value. The money at this point is low enough that it's not actually, it's almost more symbolic than it
yeah,
is.
totally.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just curious, like, where your limit is to how much time and energy you could invest. Like, because last week I thought we were all sort of like at our limit to some degree. So maybe if we do find more people to take on more roles and do that decentralized thing you're talking about, you could take a step back from certain jobs and other people can take them on. So yeah, I guess roles and what people are willing to take on is what I'm curious about.
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's almost like you're asking, like, it's kind of like you're asking me that as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Which there's a way, and where that I like that, thinking about it that way, because then in a sense, it's like, well, Rob, what can you take on now? And Zoe, what can you take on? And probably.
And what do you like want to, like, not even can, but like ideally what do you envision yourself doing?
Right.
Yeah.
What are you able to, and then what do you want to? Yeah. And I think that's we really want to, that's the huge part of it, combine those things. Yeah. But there's a way, I think, until there's like more money, then it doesn't that I think, I mean, tell me what you think, because we're like, for me, it feels like there needs to be like this sense of like decentralizing Rob,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
Otherwise, it's like, well, we're gonna like we're counting on Rob to continue, HSC until it, whatever becomes what it becomes. But I don't know that that's, I'd rather, start to be one of the cogs in the wheel rather than, and I might be the cog in the wheel that's investing the most, time currently, but like, but like not having it.
The way ISC is set up, like, it's got decentralized elements, but a central, so like the bubbles are in a pyramid. Like, there is the core team who has the most experience, and they have the most say, but they also put in the most time. So it's not like they're better than the people down here who kind of follow their orders to some degree. It's just these people invest the most time, and they also have a consolidated vision. So the bubbles down here are the different teams. And they get to provide as much insight and input as they want, but everything does go back to the core team meetings, and they do approve of everything and that provides some quality control too. So yeah, well, I guess the issue of quality control is what I'm more worrying about a bit, because like, if it's totally decentralized, what if the program team is providing stuff that the paying members are like, this is not a program that I wanted, like, why am I paying for this? So at least for the paying members, like, providing a really quality program, that conversation should happen with the right people who are like invested in making it float,
Totally. I love the way you described it there. I think that sounds exactly right to me, as far as like how I imagine it. Yeah. Yay. And I think when I say decentralized, to be clear, which is good, like, I don't mean like fully decentralized.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know what exactly that would look like,
Everyone just does what they want.
Yeah, I mean, Right. It really feels to me like, yeah, what you're, you know, like in the way that you're talking about. Yeah, this
Okay, cool.
decentralization, right, where right, everybody, you know, is, you know, the centralization, you know, main centralization is around like what is the shared purpose and vision, and then right, the core team is based on the people who are contributing, you know, the most.
That sounds good to me. I just want to
Yeah,
say that Natalie's hair is so pretty with the leaves and things, and it's like a crown
and the sun.
in the
Oh,
sun.
you saw that?
Right. Oh my God.
And
Oh,
yeah, this
magic.
is Onyx. She's got a short stubby tail.
It's so nice out there. Oh.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. It has been nice to spend more time outside. Um, it's nice to hear you two talk. It sounds like, yeah, you're slowly sorting it out. Um, I honestly have no idea what I could contribute at this point. I don't really have an opinion or a strategy. Um, it's definitely new territory for me. I'm just kind of, I think, getting caught up with what the situation is and what's possible.
Yeah, what's possible.
yeah. Well, I wonder if it might be good to it's where I'm trying, you know, to make it a little more to make it solidify it a little bit more, you know, in, you know, like a specific like tangibility, you know, which I think is right. I wrote out the circles, and then when I was going over this and, you know, like popping things in from the meeting, you know, I thought of like the calendar, like what I'm calling the calendar of events, right? So what, you know, because, you know, and Natalie, right, I've been thinking about like what value are we giving, right? So somebody is going to be paying, you know, money into the pool, but, you know, they're also going to be paying, you know, like their time. And so, you know, if I'm committing in whatever way, like let's say, you know, 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week to holistic systems, you know, those 3 hours, they need to be, you know, as valuable, you know, to me in whatever way, you know, that I'm taking in value. They need to be as valuable as, you know, at least as the 3 hours that I'm, you know, of time that I'm putting in, you know, plus my 10 or 20 bucks or whatever. And so, you know, so that's what I've, you know, been thinking about. Okay, like what are the, you know, like what is the value you get from this, you know, and what's the actual kind of, you know, product, if you will, you know, and there's these, right, I think I tried to sum it all down in a simple way of saying like, oh, I did it better in the other, you know, like a professional development and networking community, you know, to help you up level your skills, find strategic partners, and, you know, find more work, that kind of thing. But then I started thinking about, okay, like a calendar of events, right? Well, what would that kind of look like? And right, so right now we have our community meeting, which, you know, for the most part feels a lot like an anchor circle meeting, you know, where we're coming together and we're like, really, this is where we like kind of drive the bus, you know, as a group. But then there could be a separate meeting that's like a Skillshare meeting, right? Which Zoe and I started to have already before you came on. We'll finish that out later. But like a Skillshare / like business development, you know, / like professional development, you know. So as far as like a group meeting, right? And that could just be something where people come in and you know, like Zoe, and she's like, hey, I need to set up like invoicing and payments, and I don't know how to do that. And, you know, or, you know, and then the third thing I thought was like a cross collaboration / like strategic partnership, you know, meeting. And that's where people can come together and say, hey, how, you know, like, what can we work on, you know, together? You know, how can we, you have like a platform, you know, that could help if I'm able to like promote on it. And then what would you get, you know, like, you know, we're working on come together and say, hey, I need somebody, I have this job and I need somebody who's, whatever, a social media expert, and let's work on that. And then the fourth one I thought was like the health and wellness circle, which is, seems like people are really interested in, in that, which is being like, hey, how do I, essentially to me, it's like, okay, well, like I might need to make money as my number one, present time need, but that a part of that is like keeping this like vessel, in like good working order. And if I'm not, if I can't do that, or if I just throw that to the side, then it's going to be harder, to have the capacity to make money and do what I need to do. So I think that fits in, really well. So those were kind of like the four, I was thinking, okay, like those might be like the four sort of like, yeah, if you start to have these like regular meetings, again, if there's enough people, and then there could be like breakouts, right? So then, like if I'm in a cross collaboration meeting with, with whatever, or if I'm in a Skillshare meeting with Zoe and we're talking about websites or something, and then it's like, oh, okay, hey, you know what, like you really need help building a website, so I can help you do that. And then we're going to have like our own one-on-one meeting, or if there's a match, from somebody who wants to, work with a yoga instructor or a wellness practitioner, they say, okay, well, like I'm gonna, let's go in one-on-one, take an hour, and, or have regular sessions, right? And then that person is then going to account for that hour that they're giving to, the other person. And then, right, so then they can, in a simple way, right, then they can receive an hour of, somebody else's, work or some kind of value benefit. So I think that's, like a way that might practically work, and a very practical and number one example is yoga with Adrian. This is from Zoe. Yeah, and so Zoe, do you want to just like speak to the need there?
Sure. So for me, I feel like I'm just at home all the time, especially because I'm surrounded by highways and I'm scared of crossing highways that don't have traffic lights, and it's hard to get physical movement. So having my time in front of the computer with this community would be taken to such a cool level if it also helped me get out of this chair. So yoga with Adrian, you're familiar with her, right?
No, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. Most of my friends fangirl over her. She just like started a yoga channel on YouTube a few years ago, and now my friends all over the world do her 30-day yoga challenge is really popular. But she has yoga for tendinitis, for back pain, for all sorts of stuff, and it's free and great quality.
Oh, maybe I do know it. I just
maybe
I'll have to look it up.
Cool. Yeah, well, I suck at motivating myself to do yoga by myself, but if there were a group of people who wanted to, like,
yes,
yeah, that would be amazing. If you guys thought that could add to the HSC offerings pool and help us also be, a community people would want to pay to be a part of. I know I could pay $10 a month if at least some people are interested in doing yoga with me, or if that's part of the program.
And you would use her free service, or you would teach the yoga yourself?
I can't teach the yoga. I was hoping that, in my mind, it's very clean if, let's say, a bunch of people are paying $10 a month or something, $2 to $30 a month to HSC, and there's someone coordinating a program for HSC of quality interviews, health check-ins, all sorts of stuff. And I thought yoga with Adrian is the first step we could take toward offering a program because it's free. We don't have to hire anyone to do it. And it's what I want to do, of course. It's what I need to do in my life. Just move a little bit.
Yes.
Yes, I think that, thank you, Zoe. Yeah, because I think the value there, right, isn't like the value is like the yoga buddy or the accountability, partner or group.
Accountability, nice.
Yeah, like that's the value, and it's a big value. I mean, that's like like that's so helpful for in so many ways, right? To have that like accountability partner, that co-working. So right, so I think that could, right, it could play out. I don't know. This is my idea. It could play out in a couple different ways. Number one, it could be like the first, it's kind of offering of this like health and wellness circle. So you say, okay, well, we're going to have this health and wellness circle, every week, and we're going to, pick a time, and, at that, we're going to start by doing this yoga with Adrian, or it could just be, it could be like more of like, like a one-on-one offering that like you could say, like maybe Natalie could be like, oh, that's like I'm not offering, this is just a hypothetical scenario, Natalie. Be like, oh yeah, like I could use to do that, whatever, once or however many times a week, you'll decide. And I will be like your accountability partner, and so, and then, we're doing that, and so you have this need, Zoe, that's then being filled by somebody else who's essentially they're making a commitment, to do that with you. So whether that happens, right, because in the health and wellness circle, maybe like for, the first 2 or 3 times or something, it's yoga with Adrian, but then another person comes in and they're like, oh, I'm not really like interested in doing yoga, or let's like, like you could expand the offerings, but you still, after 3 weeks, you still need that buddy, right?
I mean, if it's just a buddy, I'm sure I could find like a friend who would do it with me.
Yeah.
So how can we make, I think there's something about being part of a group doing it that is, I'm trying to figure out a way to sacrifice their ice cream. And being part of a group, I think I would sacrifice my ice cream to be part of a group.
Yeah. Okay, well then.
There's lots to be said for group effort, for sure.
Yeah.
Energy. Yeah.
Well, I think that, then the only challenge that comes up for me is like within the people who are here now, are there enough people who can commit to doing that? That's right. Like one.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking of the weeds method and just going on Patreon and promoting to the whole world, like, join our community.
Yeah. By the way, I think that the Patreon and like the crowdfunding idea, I think it's a great idea. Like I have no qualms with that idea at all. Yeah. My only thing is that somebody has to facilitate it. Put it together.
I definitely could. Yeah, I was envisioning helping put it together for sure. Because it's kind of like I was gonna do social media marketing us as an agency, or I could still do social media, but yeah, I'm not sure what we're marketing us as.
Yeah.
Well, we could promote the Patreon on social media. Yeah.
I think we could definitely do. I mean, I think we could definitely do social media. In fact, I'm more like I feel more inspired now, to do social media almost kind of than I did before, because, before we were, we're like, okay, we're an agency and we're a service, and there's, we talked about, like we had to kind of keep it kind of vanilla.
Yeah, right.
but I think what we're, essentially, and that's kind of what I was trying to put together in this business model is like, well, what are we selling? Because we have to be, and to my mind, we're selling this like I said, this like professional development and networking, group where you can boost your higher ability and
Yeah.
up level your skills, find more clients, and and really like the whole idea is that we're working in a collaborative way.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's right, but how to get started? I mean, actually, there's ideas coming in. I don't know, Natalie, you want to jump in here and tell us what you're thinking?
How different is it from like the other dream that HSC was prior to
Yeah.
the shift?
Yeah, I think in my mind it's not really different. I think it's just starting. I think that there were essentially there were like kind of two businesses, or two offerings. There's the offering to the client, and then there's the offering to like the freelancers, independent contractors. So
Yes.
So I think we knew that there are definitely like two different offerings, and what Holistic Systems was kind of meant to be was this platform that can bring them together. I don't know. So to me, in my mind, this is really just saying like, hey, let's just concentrate on the offering, to the freelancers, independent contractors, and entrepreneurs. Like, let's just concentrate on that and what the value is coming from that, with the very same sort of purpose as it has been, which is how can we come together and change the way we work? How can we come together and create a model of collaboration rather than competition?
Yes.
Yeah, and then I think if this part is successful, then it very naturally leads to like the second offering.
Yeah. It's like, that's it. Yeah. It's the same thing as before, but really focusing on the foundation or something like that.
Right. So the people gathering, I guess it would be helpful to like you need people to gather people that have this alternative perspective or desire in mind and are willing to trial and error, and through, I guess, the building of that internal foundation, that kind of becomes the use case experience for the like client partner positioning. I don't know.
I think that's how
Does that
it
make
was
sense?
more in the beginning, but maybe this is just my own perspective. I'm envisioning even bringing on people to the community who are less committed to being part of that exploration and trial and error and all that, and who are just willing to pay some money to get some services. And maybe they're not part of the core community that's more willing to do what you mentioned, like the trial and error and, dedicated to change.
You're imagining people like through the digital environment. So they're not like a local community. They're not people gathering at like the library or whatever.
Not really.
Yeah.
I was just kind of focusing on getting money fast to like fund HSC. And like, maybe it's not the right way to go. But
Well, money fast. Nowadays, all of that fast money is being held by like boomers. It's all being held by like people 60 plus, right? That's where, I
that's
mean,
a
not
point
all of it,
too.
but a large chunk of it, right? And
This is true.
Yeah, and they're not super big on the digital, but I think they have taken like ownership of Facebook. Facebook's like the older generation's jam.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you're right. Like maybe people who are looking for work and want to be part of a community to up level their skills, they don't have the money to join, but we were hoping that they would sacrifice their ice cream, ice cream cone once a month to be part of it. So I keep thinking to like, how can we convince people to sacrifice their ice cream cone once a month? For me, I would sacrifice my ice cream cone if the community had health resources and online yoga or something like that. Like, what does it take to get people to sacrifice their ice cream cone?
Too much.
Too much, yeah.
Too much, yeah. I think that's playing with a live wire, right? That's like depending on like emotional stability, which does not exist very frequently in today's world. It's, I don't know. Like I said, I don't have any strategies. This is not really my forte at all. What
It's
you
a
guys
good
are
point. I
working
think
with. So
you're being realistic. Like, maybe there's a chance we just can't get more than 5 paying members, and it's just going to be $50 a month, and that's nothing really to do much with. So we should be more realistic about that, maybe.
yeah, and it'll be people who are value driven, right? Like they want and see the deeper purpose of this project and are willing to um work with it, you know. Eliza Harold, who I was hoping that she would come to one of these meetings, she's doing something similar, but she's collecting people based on a community level. So she's starting with this first layer and she's calling it like cohorts. And she wants to first initiate like a small group of people so that they feel empowered and essentially supported in whatever they're doing in the real world. So for the real world, in her mind, it's like people who are, you know, making effective change on the watersheds that are in their, you know, like listening to the waters of their area and making like significant changes and impact. And she wants her world unity group to be something that can be a support, a digital hub for significant like information and or like where people can come and like, oh, this is how you talk to, you know, a municipal counselor or whatever. And this
Ooh,
is someone's experience with, you know, gathering a protest or whatever needs be, but there's like an online um
You're breaking up a little bit.
can support, and I kind of see this is in reflectionism. I'll try to.
Hello?
I was just
Oh,
saying that I
sorry,
see
you broke up a little bit.
HSC being a similar reflection, just focused on. Oh, still?
No, you're back. You're back, but sorry, yeah, it was just you broke up for about like 1 minute.
oh, well, I love what you were saying. If you can hear me, um, yeah, Natalie's making me think in a different direction now, but I think it's good to hear it and think about it. It's from my understanding, it's kind of like instead of going for the weeds like I was, going for the trees, as Newman says, the quality members, quality community members who are value driven. And yeah, I see your little thumbs up. I'm just trying to summarize what you said. And yeah, it's not like they want anything back in exchange for their money. They just want to be part of some solution and are pooling money for the greater good and the community. And I think that's also a viable option. It's the tree option versus the weeds option. And I think you're right. Like maybe that's the way to go. The weeds option, I don't know. Do we want 200 people paying $2 a month? Like, I'm not sure. If it provides enough money, that would be cool, but maybe it'll disorient us from where we or where you guys want to go.
Yeah.
What's your skill level of running a stake pool operation there, Rob?
Oh, sorry. What's my what?
Your skill level for running a stake pool operation.
Stake pool.
That's with like digital coins on like blockchain. People, it's like a way of investing, and yeah, it seems to
I'm
be
Googling it.
Yeah, I mean, my skill level is on a scale of 1 to 10, probably a 0.5 there. So, or maybe a 1, maybe even a 2. Who knows? I don't, like I'm aware of it all, but no, I haven't had time to really actually. I've tried to learn about it. It's complex.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
Yeah.
I'm probably a minus 0.5.
Minus 0.5. Yeah. All right. But I think you get 0.5 points just for knowing that it's actually a thing.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. See, you just up-leveled your skills.
Sweet. I'm at 0 now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that, at least from the standpoint where we're sitting now, I don't know that like that necessarily it's required to only go for the weeds method or for the tree method. I think I don't know what would work better. I like there's another thing, that sort of Natalie, thank you for mentioning what Eliza is doing. It sounds like basically she's doing like the same thing, except it's just like to maybe a little bit of a different target audience and with a different.
Yep.
Yeah. There's something where I've been thinking there's already there's like a lot of groups who like have this idea. I mean, there's already like, I know of like Guy in that, and then there's like what Jeff is doing. And I just wonder if also there's a way to like bring these groups together. Because
big time.
I know that on our own, like none of them are like rocketing up to the sky, but I think it's about, I don't know. I mean, for me, no matter what, it's about like what value, if people are getting value out of it, they're going to come. And if they're not, then they won't. And I think that's what I think that there's value here. I mean, I see it, but I think, and this goes along with everything that you all are talking about. It's not different than it, but I think that until we sort of like can see and speak to and quantify the value of more, and like people can see it, then I think the more you do that, the easier it is to then sell. Whether it's sell Patreon, sell crowdfunding, sell, to members.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I get, right, like I already get value from it, right? And I'm trying to think of examples and ways, right? And I think, there's like a lot of like use, like examples already with Zoe and I feel like of places where I've been able to get value and, you know, up level my skills. And then with, you know, with like, there's a lot with other people, like Newman made a document and he put like the check marks on it, but there's the check boxes, but the check boxes didn't cross out the thing, the list item, and that bothered me so much. But I never, for some reason, I just didn't know that there was an option to not have that, you know, to have the check boxes, but when you checked it, it didn't cross out the thing. And it was like, oh, you can do that, right? So it opened up my eyes to a whole new world. I feel like the more that I've worked with in these groups and with everybody, you know, on these projects, you know, I'm like, I learn exponentially faster. So I don't know if other people have the same experience, you know, or if other, like, what is the value that you're showing up for, and how do we quantify that? I mean, I think that people, like, I think if anybody is like, you know, it sort of fits in our, what I feel like is our, you know, kind of ideal customer profile. I think if anybody like fits in that, like, and of course I'm biased, you know, but like, you know, they'd be nuts not to join here, you know, like I think it's like, it could be, you know, I think there's an immense value potential. Yeah, I'm biased, but yeah, and so I don't know where to, you know, I guess that's the question, is where, you know, like what do you all think, and then where do we start? You know, do we start with like we have, you know, there's a very specific example, like a yoga with Adrian. I mean, I like that because it's very, I mean, maybe we start with figuring out like who wants to try it first, you know, who like what, yeah, like who are the people who are kind of trying it. And then in that group, you know, it's like how many people, you know, are up for, you know, a yoga with Adrian commitment.
Yeah. And they could, you know, drop out some days if they don't want to. I guess if I were a total stranger and I found the HSC Patreon or whatever page, or someone sent me a link and I were interested in yoga, I'd kind of expect that it's already happening and I could expect at least 1 or 2 other people to be there. But since I'm Zoe and I'm not a stranger, like, and I want to help, I'd even, you know, I'd pay $10 a month, even if I'm the one organizing it and no one shows up. But ideally, yeah, more than that.
I don't know. I think the yoga with Zoe is more interesting to me than yoga with Adrian. One, Adrian might get mad that you're using her yoga with Adrian and making money off of it, and she's not, you know,
yeah,
like that's a possibility. But if you're, you know, yoga with Zoe and you use like hers and maybe others, and you're like, it's all about like using free resources, but in a community setting, you know, that could be interesting. Some of the most impactful stuff is like, you know, you sharing your, you know, your grief on the journey of like trying to get to movement, and then people being able to relate to that. Because
that's interesting.
Because I think like a lot of people would just like bypass the membership and just go straight to like YouTube on their own and start watching the yoga. You know, that's what I see. But if it's yoga with Zoe, and so I get to hang out with this cool babe and be like, okay, sweet, she's got the same struggle I've got. That's way more interesting to me, right? And then we get to do cool different like yoga formats, whatever they are. That's, you know, I like that.
That's
But
adorable.
I would be careful using like just yoga with Adrian, because, you know, through the grapevine she might get catch on. I don't know. Maybe she's into it, but she might be like, yo, where's my royalties?
No, that's a great point. We need to keep the fact we're using her product on the down low. Make sure no one
Right.
knows. Yeah, it's true. So HSC offerings yoga. Maybe Zoe, but I'm shit and I can't do a lot of it. I can't even do downward dog these days because my wrists are so messed up. Anyway.
Oh my God, that makes for the best teacher though. Like you don't have to be a baller teacher. You can
Yeah.
like, like
Yeah.
you have to modify. This is how I'm doing it because I don't have, like
Yeah.
you could be more relatable in that sense. But I hear you. It's not like if you haven't been trained, it can be intimidating and
Well, I
Yeah,
think
and we
that's
have to not get in trouble to hurt people, sign a waiver or something.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think Natalie's
yeah.
point is really great. Is that you're doing that you're doing yoga with somebody who like you're not actually being the yoga teacher.
Yeah.
You're saying like
I'm
I'm
your
putting on this
buddy.
group. It's yoga with Zoe, like with in parentheses with Adrian, right?
Right.
Um,
That's
but
so
the
funny.
but the extra value somebody else is getting is that like, oh, like oh,
The
now
check
I get to
in, the
do it with
check
this other
out.
person who's a real person, and oh, whoops, turns out I'm
Yeah.
a real person too. So that actually is helpful for me.
That is
Yeah.
cute. Yeah. Really
Totally.
great
Yeah,
point,
which actually
Natalie.
is interesting because it sort of turns the right, which is part of what I love. It turns that sort of value, sort of like wheel around because we're saying like, well, Zoe has a need, and so somebody needs to join her and then provide that value. But then you're just flipping around and say, oh, okay, well, but now also by having this need, I have this value.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it opens up this whole new possibility. Like maybe teaching yoga is a path for you, Zoe, and you didn't
That
even
would
know
be
it,
hilarious.
right?
God.
Like opens up this whole other category of your life. And all you had to do was like take that initial step and make it like possible. Or,
That's how,
and it became passionate.
yeah, interesting. Guys, that's so funny. But your points are on point and it's
Yeah.
Wait,
hilarious. But you're
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
point.
points are on point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm like so curious because that's kind of what we're like. I would give up my ice cream cone for at least yoga. I'm curious what other people would give up their ice cream cone for. Not the weeds, not just normal people, but people in the community like
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah.
There are only 3 of us here today, so too bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would, yeah, I mean, I would give up my, I'd give up my ice cream cone for like business, like business help, business kind of development help from people who are, more experts in, in areas than I am, so that's like a, business development, right? So like a specific one is like somebody who's, who's like a branding expert, um, and can right help with like specifics on offerings and things like that, right? If somebody could do that, and have that skill share or actually, help with something specific like that. Yeah, I'd give up my ice cream for that. Because to me, I want to be thinking in the way of, of course, this is what I want to be thinking in the way of like, how is what I'm doing here going to get me 2 ice cream cones, like, or 4 ice cream cones. Then for the ice cream cone I have to give up now, is the value I get gonna lean, gonna bring 4 ice cream cones,
That's great.
3 months from now.
Yeah, so paying $10 a month or however much works for you. That sacrifice now will give you the tools to actually make more later. Love it. And it'll help me save on hospital bills later with
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it too. Yeah, giving up a little bit of ice cream now means a lot more ice cream down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Natalie, anything in particular as far as your needs, what you would give up your ice cream cone for now?
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's probably more so in the there's two different pathways. One is in the like personal health area. So specifically someone who's like professional to talk to, get some things straightened out in specific topics. Because I feel like there's that one like loose hole or like loose end that I can't, and it or yeah, there's a hole in my bucket, and so no matter what I put in my bucket, it all leaks out this, this hole, and I can't quite find the hole on my own. So I need like a someone who specializes in bucket holes to help me fill it up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it may be like an ongoing thing because I'm learning and discovering that my being is quite complicated, as well as like, yes, very simple, but also very complicated and stubborn in some respects. So, and it's like difficult topics like around, like intimacy and stuff like that. It's not something you can like just talk to anyone, casually about kind of stuff, but it's like aspects around, yeah, like trusting life and whatever else. So there's that component. And I know that like Seeds is opening up and it's happening, I guess, probably this evening. You two should check it out. I don't think I'm gonna go, but they're having their healing circle this evening.
Yeah.
So they do their, yeah, but my problem with it is it's like it's recorded and it's all about like a gratitude token. So, there is like which is supposed to be the benefit of it. Like you earn a token by either making an offering in the circle or just sharing, like whoever shows up, you can decide who you give your gratitude token to or not. So yeah, it's an interesting container, but it's not fully formed. And then the other pathway where I'd give up my ice cream for would be, yeah, maybe some specialty training. There's a bit of training in a couple of different fields that is interesting to me, but yeah. So one being like high level facilitation for online spaces because if people are getting worn out online and it's harder and harder to pull in community and actually get fucking motivation from human beings.
That's really
Unless it's like very, very personal, like selfish, like your health is like dependent on showing, or there's like a court order and you have to show up, or like you're paying your bills like depends on you showing up or whatever it is. It's very hard to get people to participate without some like deep core motivation. So I'm finding this very tricky, but I do know there are some ways to facilitate like very engaging online spaces that trigger and elicit like that deep value response, like people feel like something good is happening for themselves and or the world, and or they feel like they're being heard and valued themselves, and so that keeps them showing up. And then otherwise I would love to be like a full-fledged, like I'd love to learn how to sell cut flowers, like to grow and sell cut flowers alongside a herbal business. So being like a full-on herbologist and growing my herbs and then delivering them. So those are like the side, the like kind of like different pathways and there's probably more, but yeah, those are the ice cream pathways for now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Thanks, yeah, to you both for sharing like these really tangible pieces. And you can feel it, right? Because in this case, it's the ice cream, right? It's $10 a month. So that's, yeah, like that's, it's the ice cream, like that's the real thing. And it's also time, right? Because what we're saying is, it's not just, whatever the money is, it's not just, the money. That's the money is to facilitate, to the, just the thing happening, it's your time, right? So somebody, but those, like, I really liked hearing those, Natalie, because you can feel, and that connects in with me. Like I can feel like the real, like, oh, this is like a real need, in that, in that positive way of thinking about needs. It's like, oh yeah, this is like a need. This is something I really, and if I can, if I get something like this from the group and I feel like it's worth whatever I'm putting back in, and then there's all this other stuff, then it's like, it's worthwhile. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it almost, like, I don't know, for me, it's almost, I feel like there's another, like the real need I have is like, if I'm really like, oh, this is what, it's like people to, I guess is like, people to help with this project,
Yeah.
And so then what, yeah, I know I have a lot of, I have a lot that that I'm happy to, share as well. I have a lot of offerings.
Hmm.
Are those where
Oh,
where are those people?
maybe that's the first step. I mean, there's two, I see two right here.
Haha.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the first step, is seeing, seeing how many people are here now, and then,
There might
and
be
then
something in that grant writing. Like the three of us could probably hammer out a really good grant proposal in the right category. And I imagine that would give us some ice cream to wave around,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like that idea. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it speaks to, okay. I mean, yeah, I think maybe I'd want to, and what I can do is
Nice.
see ice cream.
Okay, keep going.
Is see where, like, what is the sort of need and value matrix? Like, who are the people, I guess, who, who want to, like, at least jump in and sort of share, share their member profile. And then what are, like, the values and needs, and then where, like, where can those get matched, right? Like, is where, who can provide that professional, like the specialty training, who can, help Natalie, with the bucket hole.
The bucket hole. Yeah. We don't have a bucket hole specialist in our community yet, I don't think, do we?
Maybe not. There might be a couple. I mean, there's what is it, Leticia
Yeah.
wants to, yeah, is interested in joining in.
Hmm. That's
I'm
cool.
actually not. I mean, I'm fairly qualified as far as like, you know, bucket holes and looking at that. You know, I mean, I did, you know, I worked as a like an intuitive wellness coach for a while, and I'm actually much. I mean, don't tell anybody this, but at least at this point, I'm definitely more qualified, you know, in the wellness field than I am in the business field. I still have lots, you know, I mean, I did like my 10,000 hours and more in that field. So I feel like
Damn.
I would consider myself like an expert in that field.
Damn.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. Your whole vibe is just wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
And yeah. So it's just, but there's a, I don't know. I mean, my mind, like I can feel there's a little, I'm a little stuck on the, right, where, you know, because there's money coming in, right? Like we want to share value with each other. And then we're also like, you know, and then part of it is like, we are facilitating, you know, we're facilitating it, you know, as well. So then maybe that's where the money goes, to the facilitators, the people who are like in those circles. Yeah. I don't know. Where do we go from here for this week? You know, what are like Zoe and Natalie thinking as far as, oh, okay, like I could do this or I could do that.
I'm
There's a
thinking
place.
of investigating other groups, seeing on one level where's the money at? Okay, where's it being held up and why? And then what's the transition point, right, to transfer this money? So that's one inquiry, just throwing it out there. I don't know what the answer is, but that's okay. We don't need to know the answer right now. We're just asking questions.
Yeah.
And the other part would be what groups, like Eliza's group, what other, or you know, Haifa is creating all these other DAOs. Like what's the connection point between all these other groups? And maybe, you know, maybe what if HSC becomes some of the glue that starts collecting these resources and aligning them in certain ways. That's what I'm thinking.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
So what would that be? All right. No. Well, yeah. Because I think it might be good. Like if we wanted to put that into like a circle, would that be, you know,
R&D?
that like funding circle or outreach circle, or I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it could be research and development, human resources. Feels like research and development. It's kind of just really getting a clear understanding of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I think later this month, the US is releasing their CBDC. So that's the digital currency, the central bank digital currency. And that's going to cause a big upset in things.
Oh shit, that's happening. Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so weird things are going to keep coming through, right? And this AI is also going to change the way that things are, like jobs that are available, because it can just do it better now. So that's going to change some things. And then so like the whole field that we're entering is, and so maybe, you know, targeting the heat level is important. Lots of support and strength, like a place for real people to
Yeah.
feel valued.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I forget, you know, I
But
mean,
yeah, I was
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
gonna say you wrap this up in 15 minutes, is that so, or are we? I'm gonna have to
Wrap it up.
check out and
Sounds good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think this is thank you for that. I think yeah, this is kind of a good wrap up. You know, which is like where, you know, what are our action items, you know, from here,
yeah,
which you just shared.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. That was just something I, you know, like what you said, it just sort of triggered this idea, you know, like sometimes like I am thinking about like, okay, like value and what are we getting and all of that, but I don't want to forget, you know, there's a way we're a little bit in this conversation, you know, sort of forgetting like the big picture, which is like we're also coming together to figure out how a group of people can collaborate together with each other and support each other and take care of each other, because there's a lot of reasons why we might want to do that.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know?
like a lost skill.
Yeah.
Seeds is a mess. Like collaborating together. Yeah, it needs that high level facilitation for sure. For the first bit. Humans got a little clumsy here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Zoe, what do you think as far as
Cool.
like, oh, okay, this is like what I can do this, you know, this week and
What I can do, I'm not really sure yet because I don't know what our immediate objectives are. But
Gather.
yeah. Oh, so,
I was gonna say gather some friends for yoga.
yeah. I could gather friends for yoga. It'll be a growth for me to be initiating this. Not being dragged along because I'm more of a draggy. I do not like exercise, you guys. Like it's a problem.
That's
Walking.
well, the problem is the solution. There's something there for you.
I mean, that's very cool. And I love that you brought it up. And I will ruminate on it. It might change my life.
Okay,
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I'll just like do a yoga thing this week or next week. Cool. Can I like post something into the chat? This is like the conclusion I've got from today. And it's like, I'll read it out loud too. Oh, sorry. That's supposed to be, no, it auto-corrected me. Sorry, Patreon. ... for now. Okay. Maybe we should just provide healing and career support. This is not a grammatically correct sentence, you guys. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Okay. Maybe
I like
should...
it though.
You guys are so great. Maybe we should just be a healing and career support group for each other with sliding scale membership payment, and community management roles will be volunteer based or paid for with dollars or tokens if that happens. No Patreon for now.
We're wrapping up.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We'll be off.
Right, I'm not on mute.
Okay.
It's great.
Thank you for that, Zoe. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I like it.
Cool. I like it too. It feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think right, we can just be like kind of playing it as it goes. I think as we go along, you know, probably the action steps or the, you know, possible solutions will hopefully become more obvious. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I like, you know, that you get gathering friends for yoga. That's interesting. But I think what you're getting here is you're getting like support, and also, you know, maybe some, yeah, you're getting some support to in like saying, oh, you could do that. Yeah, I think for me, you know, it definitely seems like for me the main thing is to like get this member profile thing out to people, and then maybe set up like a, you know, at the even least, you know, set up like a spreadsheet with everybody's, you know, kind of needs and value and all, you know, all of that's on the profile. And see, you know, see who pops stuff in, you know, and then when we know how many people there are in a group, you know, then we know like where we're starting from. Yeah. And then we can figure out like how, yeah, figure out where we're starting from, who's, you know, like who's interested in then helping and, you know, like facilitate the, because I think I think, I don't know, there's this part of it where it's like if we're you know, like I know we're separating like facilitating, you know, the organization and like, you know, the places we're getting value, but there's also a way where it's like it's kind of one and the same, you know, like we're the, you know, we're the recipients, you know, we're the facilitators and we're the recipients. Yeah. So I don't know, there's something that feels a little like a little murky in it now, but that's okay. That's probably just because that's where it's at.
Yes. I'm gonna see if I can find and share the healing circle for, I don't know, it sounds like it might be an interesting research for one of you to go check it out. I don't know where they're announcing it though.
Okay. And you know, Zoe, you know, I still think that like
maybe it already happened.
What the seeds, the gratitude circle? Or
Yeah, I guess
circle?
it happened at 9 a.m. Today. So yeah. Whoops.
Oh,
Early.
okay. Yeah, Zoe, I also think, you know, that like, yeah, maybe we should sort of get a little bit more grounding, you know, but I do think that social media for this, if we feel like, oh, we really got something to, you know, to offer, could be fun.
Yeah, we could, yeah, I'm still a little confused because it's still a little murky. But yeah, we could talk about it. Need to know what we're trying to get.
Yeah.
Paying members, right? Paying members is the main thing. Or clients still? I think
members. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think members, yeah, I think members, and then I think get enough members that there's like, oh, okay, there's a thing here. And then we figure out like, okay, then what do we pay and what do we, you know, like not, you know, because it's like if you have, right, like even to say 20, right, if you have 20 people and each person, you know, is thinks that it, contributes like 2 hours a week, then that's okay. Then that's like a full-time job's worth, a week. And that's, probably not that big of a commitment on each person's part, to like make the thing happen. And then whatever time, sort of like doing the stuff, but doing the stuff is supposed to be, valuable enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if Natalie, and I know we should wrap up, if Natalie, works 2 hours a week, just kind of like facilitating holistic systems, and then there was another hour a week where she was getting help in this like kind of into development, that's not really time that she'd be thinking about as like, well, this is like my community time or whatever. It's like, oh no, this is and if I'm going to a skill share, it's not because I'm saying, oh, I have to, I'm the facilitator. It's like, no, I'm getting the value here. So that's interesting. And then, right, then if there's also 20 people and 20 people are paying, $10 a month, then it really, I mean, it's kind of silly, but if 20 people are volunteering 2 hours a week, and then each paying $10 a month, then then that $10 a month essentially goes back to the person. It goes back to each person.
Mm-hmm. It's true. To some degree, yeah. Huh.
If everybody's equal, sort of persistent, if everybody's equally like the coordinator, then essentially, I think we might have to like, but some of it might have to go towards, software or something. Yeah. But I think, but then that might allow like, oh, well, one person, feels like they have 3 hours a week to contribute and one person only has one. And it's like, oh, okay, well, then the 3 hour person is going to get like more of the actual money. I don't know. I'm just sort of like, whew.
No, it's good stuff. I want to have that conversation soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it would look like, but can't wait to paint pictures.
Cool. Yeah.
It reminds me of this trusted house sitter that we're using. Like there's two different parties. So there's people that want to travel for free, and then there's people that need pet sitters, right? So it's two very different needs, but they're meeting each other and they both pay the membership fee. So I'm paying $170 for a year of potential, like, cat sitting. But I'm paying for, I guess, the fact that everyone is like verified, and there's like a system to it that ensures a bit more security than just searching random. So maybe that's a similar kind of deal here. There's like different needs being met on different levels, but there's a matchmaking in between. So yeah, I don't quite know what it looks like either, and I'm running out of brain fuel to really function properly. So let's reboot another conversation around it next time.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah. We'll say bye then.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, folks.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having us along your day's journey.
The shopping trip. And thanks for hearing me out and sending you guys lots of love.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
And Zoe, do you want to stay on to talk about your invoicing?
Well, if you don't want to.